A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again, I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the history class. Today, we are going to deal with two different chapters. First one, chapter number 5, the Muslim League. Second one, chapter number 13, agencies of United Nations or major agencies of United Nations. From this both chapters, we are going to discuss a few number of points. Like from chapter number 5, the Muslim League, there we are going to deal with the objectives of Muslim League. And from chapter number 13, we are going to learn the names of the agencies which functions under the United Nations or the major agencies of United Nations. So from both these chapters, we are going to discuss only a few points. That way, we are discussing two chapters in one particular class. So first of all, we are going to chapter number 5, the Muslim League. If we want to know about the objectives of the Muslim League, we must know in which background or in which situation the Muslim League has got originated. We have already studied in the first chapter of the history. Do you remember what we were discussing in the first chapter of the history? Of course, the first war of independence, 1857. So it was an uprising in the history of India, where all the different sections and classes of the people fought against the British. But the British people were able to suppress that particular movement. So, as the result, the impact of the First War of Independence 1857 led to the formation of Muslim League. You might be having a doubt. You will be asking a question. How? Because after the First War of Independence, the British authorities, they came to know that it will be not that easy to rule over India for a long period of time again. Or in other words, very soon they will lose their power in India. So they have introduced different policies to conquer or to continue or to remain in power. And one of the policy introduced by the British authority was the policy of divide and rule. Even now we can see that particular policy introduced by the British still going on in our country. Policy of divide and rule. British people divided the society on the basis of different criteria. They made problems between different groups of people like rich and poor. Rivalry between rich and poor. Then different religion, different status, different position. So whatever possible categories were there, all those categories became a matter to exploit the people. Or all those categories became a policy to divide the people on the basis of religion, on the basis of caste, on the basis of language, on the basis of culture, on the basis of tradition. So what all kinds of differences were there? Diversities were there. All those diversities were used to divide the people, and the British people were taking benefit from that policy of divide and rule. It led to the growth of communalism. So people divided on the basis of religion. Even now we can see the people are becoming very aggressive in the case of their religion. If somebody is making a comment about a religion, the other people, they won't simply sit, they won't forgive that person, they will be reacting. So it led to the growth of communalism. People started to get hurt when somebody is speaking something against their religion. And here also in the case of Muslim League or in the case of Muslims and Hindus, formerly they were having a very good unity. But because of the policy introduced by the British, that is divide and rule, it created a gulf between the Muslims and the Hindus in India. So it was one of the reasons. Then backwardness of Muslim community. Muslim community was not always in the front row of the society. They were little backward, especially in the case of business, then education, and in different such stages or in different such matters they were a little back. And the British people have taken advantage, they have taken benefit from that, and they started to exploit it. So the British people, so the Muslim League or the Muslim people, they realized that there must be an organization, there must be a party, there must be a group for their community. So it also led to the formation of Muslim League. Then erroneous interpretation of history. History got interpreted in a wrong manner. They told the Hindu people that the Muslim leaders were really exploiting India and they made benefit. And to the Muslims, they told the Hindu leaders or Muslim leaders doesn't mean that political leaders, but especially the rulers. When we go through the history, we can see number of Muslim rulers as well as Hindu rulers, like Shah Jahan or Mughal dynasty, or Iltutmish, or in other words, slave dynasty. Then Delhi Sultanate. Number of Muslim rulers were there. At the same time, from Hindu community, there were number of rulers. We know the history. We have already studied those matters in the previous class. I mean in class 9th. Number of dynasties were there, number of ruling class were there, number of kingdoms were there which belongs to Muslims as well as Hindus. So the British people, they made wrong interpretation of history. So all these factors, I have told you just a few number of reasons or factors, but there were number of factors. If you want to get more information, just turn the pages of the chapter, the Muslim League. There you can see number of reasons, a few number of events, a few number of reasons, certain policies introduced by the British, the impact of certain incidents, especially even the first war of independence 1857. So all this led to the formation of Muslim League because they realized, they understood the importance of a political association, a political organization which can stand for their demands and needs. So these are the factors, these are some of the points which led to the formation of Muslim League. I am telling about it just because it's something like an introduction to the topic. So the Muslim League has got formed and they were having aims. So it is the main point or it is the main topic which we are going to discuss today. Aims and objectives of the Muslim League. First point, to promote support for the British. Muslims were considered as minority community in India while comparing with other community or while comparing with Hindu community. They were really minority. So they thought or they believed that if they join with the Hindus, they are not going to get any justice. They are not going to get any benefit. So they thought of supporting the British. So they have decided, or the first aim was, or the first aim of Muslim League was to promote support for the British. Remove all misconceptions related to the Indian Muslims. So the British people, we have already seen, they have interpreted the history in a wrong manner. They told the Hindu people something wrong about the Muslim rulers. At the same time, they told the Muslim people about the policies adopted by the Hindu rulers against the wish and will of the Muslims. So in such a way they have interpreted the history, and it was not something the real. So they decided to support the British in order to remove all misconceptions related to the Indian Muslims. So that was the first aim or the first objectives of the Muslim League. Second point was to protect and advance the political rights of Muslims. As I have already told you, they thought they are minority community. They are not going to get any benefit if they join with the Hindus. So they thought if they join with the British administration, or if they decided to support, if they support the British administration, they'll get benefit from that. And from that benefit, or just because of that, they will be able to protect and advance the political rights of the Muslims. Suppose if we take the example, if we help somebody, in return we also will expect a help from that person. Same way here, when Muslims were supporting the British, in return they were expecting some benefit from the British. And it was something like to protect and advance the political rights of the Muslims, to represent their needs and aspirations. So if they support the British, they'll get a chance to be with them, they'll get a chance to talk with them, they can present their problems to the British. So in such a way, they can represent their needs and aspirations to the British government in mild and moderate language. So of course, if the Muslims are supporting the British, definitely British administration will listen to the words and demands of the Muslims. That was their aim. So it was the second aim and objective of the Muslim League, to protect and advance the political rights of the Muslims, to represent their needs and aspirations to the British government in mild and moderate language. And the third aim of the Muslim League was to prevent the rise of feelings of hostility between the Muslims of India and other community. Already there were some problems between the Muslims and the other communities in India. It was just because of the policy introduced by the British, the policy of divide and rule. So to work, or the Muslim League was focusing on preventing the rise of feelings of the hostility between the Muslims of India and other communities. So these are the main three objectives or aims of the Muslim League. Now we are going to the next chapter, that is chapter number 13, Agencies of United Nations. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about the major agencies of United Nations. You have already studied about the United Nations and what are their main activities. All those things we have already studied. So here we are going to study about the agencies of United Nations. Major agencies of the United Nations. It's working for the social and economic development of developing countries. So these agencies are mainly focusing on the social and economic development of the developing countries. Developing countries means the countries in which developments are taking place. Okay, so almost majority of the countries are being considered as the developing countries. So social and economic development of those countries are the concern of these agencies with a particular agenda. So please don't think that they will be getting involved in all the economic and social activities of the countries, but these agencies are having certain agendas. According to the agency, their agendas are different. Working worldwide, it's working not only in one particular country, but in all the different countries of the world, throughout the world, the working worldwide. And the first agency we are going to discuss is UNICEF, which means United Nations Children's Fund. So UNICEF is the first agency which functioning under United Nations. UNICEF means United Nations Children's Fund, but actually it's a former form was something different. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, that was the full form of UNICEF in its beginning. Later it has got changed into United Nations Children's Fund. But still, the expanded form of UNICEF is United Nations Children's Fund. It has got a special work or a special agenda that is working for the welfare of children. So the agenda of UNICEF is to work for the welfare of children in all the different nations of the world. Okay, it is functioning worldwide. Second agency which functions under the United Nations is WHO, which means World Health Organization. The full form or the expanded form of WHO is World Health Organization. It has got a special agenda, that is to achieve the highest possible level of health by all people. You might be remembering when you were in lower classes, you might have got vaccination, and during the time of your vaccination you might have seen uh, workers getting inside your school campus with the label or with the sticker WHO, which means that particular program is being sponsored by World Health Organization. They are the people who are conducting such programs along with the support of the particular government in that country. So World Health Organization is the second agency which is functioning under the United Nations to achieve the highest possible level of health by all people. And the third agency is UNESCO. UNESCO. The expanded form of UNESCO is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It is quite big in size. United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It has got some special agendas like to promote collaboration among nations through education, science, culture and communication. Standing for the human rights for all human beings. So these are the two different agendas under UNESCO: to promote collaboration among nations through education, science, culture and communication. There are different programs taking place under this particular agency. Like right now we are facing a very big crisis in this world due to the COVID pandemic. So there are different agencies, different countries, different scientific organization or institution has to work together. Even in our country, along with the support of other agencies from other nations, we are also having number of experiments to find out the vaccine. Along with the support of the Oxford University, we also have taken number of experiments to find out a vaccine. Or in other words, our students or our children are going to abroad for higher education, or from other nations, youngsters are coming to our country for getting higher education, educational collaboration, scientific. You might have heard about a very big experiment which took place in our world, which connects between 4 different countries, and that particular experiment is being known as God's particle. An experiment which conducted to find out the God's particle. So in such kinds of scientific experiments where collaboration of nations are needed, UNESCO will get involved in those cases. Then cultural. In this present world, we are considering the entire world as a village where people are sharing the things and it is being circulated throughout the world within the fraction of seconds. Within number of days, things are getting changed. A new culture is being formed. At the same time, modulation or changes in the culture is also being taken place. So all these kinds of activities are being governed or observed or screened by UNESCO. And sometimes you might have heard about very famous historical locations like Taj Mahal. It's a it's a it's a place which comes under the UNESCO. Certain areas, certain buildings, certain monuments will be considered like the site of UNESCO. It's a part of culture. So these kinds of activities are being managed or regulated by UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. So dear students, these are the different agencies which functions under United Nations. So I think today's class was really helpful for you to understand these new points. And in the next class, we will be going to discuss a new chapter, a new topic. And we will see again in the next class. Till then, I would like to sign off. Thank you.